All right, let's now cross to our correspondent, Nick Harper in Florida in the U.S. Nick, thank you so much for your time. Now, earlier we saw Trump's plane a while ago, still parked at his Mar-a-Lago home in Park Beach. Tell us what you see at the moment. When is he likely to depart for New York City ahead of that historic appearance in Manhattan?
Yeah, it's going to be a busy couple of hours for Donald Trump. It's 10 o'clock local time here. We are expecting him to depart his Mar-a-Lago residence that you can see just behind me in 2 hours' time from now at 12 o'clock. It's a very short drive to Palm Beach International Airport. It's about 3 miles away. Wheels up, according to Trump's schedule, will be at 12:20. And then there is a just over 2-hour flight to New York City where he'll be landing at LaGuardia Airport. At the moment, though, things are quite quiet here at the Trump estate and the surrounding area. We saw the lawnmowers out on those lawns a couple of hours ago. In terms of protesters, supporters, I went up and counted just a moment ago. There was only 7 or 8 people here showing their support for Donald Trump. They were all flying large flags. A few of them had signs. They were encouraging people to honk their horns as they went past. The fact is that media personnel far outnumber the number of supporters at the moment. There's about 20 different news crews here from all around the world giving updates hour by hour as we await that departure for Donald Trump. And as you said, it is of course historic. Never before has a US president, sitting or former, appeared in a criminal court on charges. So everyone is waiting what will be the next steps in Donald Trump's journey as he heads to Manhattan for that courtherhouse appearance on Tuesday afternoon. Yeah,
and in fact, he himself will be appearing for the first time in front of a judge. But more importantly, Donald Trump has called himself innocent, and that him and his allies have actually said that this is nothing but a witch hunt. It's politically motivated. What are you hearing from his lawyers about how they will approach this?
That's right, and that's what his supporters that I've spoken to here all say as well, that this is just the Democrats trying to ensure that he's never in the White House again. His lawyers have been saying that they intend to fight this aggressively. They say that they hope the arraignment on Tuesday afternoon will go quickly. They hope that it'll be just a 20-minute affair, perhaps at most. They intend to get in and out as quickly as possible. But they also say that they will be challenging the legal viability of this case, because they feel that this is just a politically motivated attack on their client, Donald Trump. Donald Trump himself has had some choice words on social media for the judge who's going to be presiding over all of this. Juan Merchant has had prior form of dealing with Donald Trump cases. He was presiding over, just a couple of months ago, the Trump Organization fraud trial. That ended in a more than $1 million fine for the Trump Organization, also the jailing of the former chief financial officer, Alan Weisselberg, for 5 months. Donald Trump, on social media overnight, wrote that the Trump-hating judge will be presiding over this case, and therefore he feels he won't get a fair trial. He says the venue, New York City, Manhattan, is impossible for him to get a fair trial, and he's suggesting that it should be moved to a place where he feels he will have more sympathetic jurors. Remember that Manhattan voters normally vote Democrat, not Republican, and that's why the president is saying he will not be able to get an impartial jury panel, 12 men and women who will be impartial and not Democrat-leaning. At least that's what the president feels.
Nick Harper, thank you so much for that update. Nick Harper coming to us live there from Florida in the U.S., saying there that President Donald Trump has not yet made his way to New York City. Of course, that's where he is headed. But let's now go to SABC News correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease. He's standing by for us in New York City. Sherwin, thank you so much for your time. Now, we hear, of course, that security is tight, particularly at the Trump Towers and the Manhattan court, of course, where he is expected to appear. So talk to us about what are you seeing ahead of fears, of course, of demonstrations and protests?
Yeah, Unati, this is not just a political theatre. This is not just a criminal process. This is also a political spectacle, if you will. Trump's plane will take off from West Palm Beach later this afternoon. He will fly to New York. He will spend the night in Trump Tower. And, of course, he will then appear at his arraignment tomorrow afternoon at the courthouse behind me. What you have here is a very tight security apparatus, given the status of the person that will be appearing. But in addition to that, a huge media contingent here. And remember, we have been speculating now for weeks as to what it is the former president will be answering to. Remember, the indictment that has been submitted to the court behind me remains sealed until he appears before a judge tomorrow. So we still don't know some of the 24+ charges that the former president will answer to. But his lawyer, appearing on ABC News this week on Sunday with George Stephanopoulos, said they were going to look at this indictment and then determine how they want to respond. This is what he had to say, Unati. Let's watch.
A battle. You know, this is something that obviously we believe is a political persecution, and I think people on both sides of the aisle believe that it's a complete abuse of power. He's a tough guy, George, as you know, and he's someone who's going to be ready for this fight. We're ready for this fight, and I look forward to moving this thing along as quickly as possible to exonerate him.
Right, and so they are ready and girding for a fight here. The president has also announced, the former president has announced that after he appears here in New York, he'll be returning to Florida, where he will make a prime-time address seeking to leverage this indictment for his political supremacy. You will remember, Unati, that he is, of course, still running for the Republican nomination in 2024. So he will seek to leverage his appearance here in New York in terms of fundraising, in terms of the media attention. And certainly what he's winning at right now is that no one else is talking about the Republican contenders for that nomination. They are only talking about Donald Trump. You asked me about protests. We haven't seen the level of protest, certainly that former President Trump has requested, but we do understand that there will be some supporters outside the courthouse tomorrow showing him support. But as Nick Harper earlier pointed out, this is Democratic county, this is Democratic country, this is a blue state. So we imagine there'll be a lot of support for the indictment on the streets of New York as well, Unati.
And of course, Sherwin, a lot of people asking this question, why were these charges not brought up sooner? Of course, we know somebody took the fall, his previous, attorney. But just talk to us about the historic nature of this case. I mean, Donald Trump is the first former U.S. president to face criminal charges. He himself will be in court for the very first time. I mean, this is a man who has political ambitions. He wants to run for office come next elections in 2024.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Why now? I mean, this is really a question that Alvin Bragg is going to certainly answer when that indictment is revealed. We understand that this is a document that runs to several pages. And remember, for the longest time, we've been speculating about what it is the former president, will be answering to. We understand it relates to hush money payments to 2 women in return for their silence while he was running for the for the White House in 2016, of course, then subsequently defeating Hillary Clinton. And you correctly point out that this relationship with his former attorney, Michael Cohen, is very much at the center of all this. It's akin to the Shabir Shaikh and Jacob Zuma relationship that Shabir Shaikh was convicted of in 2005. Michael Cohen has been convicted of essentially a similar charge to something we expect the former president, to answer to. But you're right, this is about American history, and this is what Riyama Rahmani, a former federal prosecutor, had to say about the historic nature of what's playing out here. Watch.
We're witnessing American history. Never has a former president been indicted or charged with the crime. And that's what we're seeing here. The question is this going to snowball? Are we going to see other prosecutors, someone like Special Counsel Jack Smith, now be empowered to move forward? Or Atlanta District Attorney Fani Willis, who's also investigating Trump for trying to overturn the 2020 election results. So there has been a hesitation on the part of prosecutors to open a political Pandora's box. The concern being, of course, that if Republicans regain control of the White House, someone like Joe Biden or Hunter Biden or Hillary Clinton could be prosecuted. So because of that hesitation, no one has moved forward, not until now, and Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg is the one who's making U.S. history.
And Unati, also worth noticing that this might just be the beginning of a Pandora's box opening here for the former president. This is one case he'll have to answer to. There are other investigations being run in Atlanta in terms of election interference. The Department of Justice, through a special counsel, is investigating the former president's role in the January 6th insurrection while Congress was seeking to certify the election results of 2020. So this is very much at the beginning, and all sorts of permutations will appear once the former president arrives here in Manhattan and appears before a judge tomorrow afternoon.
Sherwin, let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for that update. Of course, this is a developing story. We will be giving you a rolling coverage from New York City, as well, of course, as in Florida, where Donald Trump's home is and where he is expected to fly out of later today in Florida.